All right, look, it stinks that we've all had falling outs, but the reality is we've all had falling outs because we do dumb stuff, or other times we don't do anything dumb at all, and just somebody else is being an idiot. It's their turn on that cycle. But stuff breaks relationally, and I think as you age and you get a few miles on the tires, those broken relationships become one of the things that really nags at you and it doesn't feel good. But I've been watching this show lately that I would say the themes have a lot to do with accountability and forgiveness. And it's very refreshing as opposed to just unending outrage, which is the spirit of the day right now. I mean, there's no forgiveness ever for anything that is expedient for me to not forgive you for at any point in history. It's just, yeah, I'm going to get all worked up. It's the bastardization of human relationships. It's the weaponization of withholding forgiveness for the advancement of political and social power. I don't like us very much right now for that reason. It's gross. The thing that I have found humanly to be the most life-giving in all of my relationships is accountability and forgiveness. The part where you realize you screwed up and then the other party honors the fact that you realized you screwed up. It's how growth happens. It's how change happens. It's how any chance of a long-term, honest, sustainable relationship with another flawed human being happens. And I'm preaching a little bit, but we're doing stupid stuff right now. We're tinkering with the thing that gives us any chance of being human beings and knowing and being known and experiencing love. So I don't like unforgiveness culture, and I love forgiveness and forgiveness with accountability. And so I've been watching the show lately where that's a big recurring theme. It's so refreshing. It's so much fun. But over the course of our lives, we have relationships that break real ugly. And then we have relationships that break, but we're not done here. We know there's a way to move this thing forward. There's a way to patch this thing up. And that would seem to be the kind of thing that we're looking at here in Matthew chapter 26, because this is a bad falling out that Jesus is predicting here. I mean, like stab in the back, horrible, bad falling out. But then, I mean, just, half a sentence later, it resolves with the indication that we're not done here relationally. So, let me just reset it. Matthew 26. Jesus has been telling his disciples, I'm going to get killed by the religious leaders and I'm going to come back to life. This is the way things have to be. And it's like, I don't know, 10 chapters. He's been saying that stuff. Peter's been fighting him the whole way. Jesus called him Satan at one point for fighting him on this point. Like, Peter, no, this has to happen. This is how it's going to go down. Gradually, we see the behavior of the disciples indicate that they're coming around to realizing, no, that this really is what's going to happen. It's what has to happen. They accept it, even if they don't totally get it. They got their Last Supper thing. Betrayal is a big theme throughout the Last Supper sequence in Matthew chapter 26. But also, even though the meal is punctuated by predictions of betrayal, it's also still a meal, meaning that rather than storming out after saying like, hey, one of y'all, you're going to betray me, you're going to hand me over, it's going to be horrible, like Jesus stays in the room. He doesn't stomp out or slam a door or make some dramatic point or go make passive-aggressive Facebook posts. Like, he still shares the meal with everybody. And just in case you're thinking like, well, maybe he just kind of forgot and just said some stuff about how relationships can be and was just musing again a little bit. No. Like, at the end, it's the same thing. It's like, no, this very night you will fall away on account of me, for it is written, and this is verse 31 here, for it's written, Zechariah 13, I will strike the shepherd and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. And then verse 32, get this. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee. Isn't it interesting here that despite predictions of dire betrayal, like the deepest, most vile betrayal, going from a hyper-trusted relationship that Jesus has enjoyed with these men, enough to the point where he could even serve as the father of this new family of faith symbolically at this meal of the Passover that they're sharing effectively as a family, that we could go from that to somebody here is going to sell me out to death. And then just in case you thought that was the only betrayal, Jesus also gives the nod to know, like, literally every one of you, the ones who don't sell me out to death, you're still going to desert me. When the going gets the slightest bit difficult here, you are all going to bail, and I am going to face this thing alone. And what is this thing? Again, he's been very, very clear about what it is. He's going to die. And so you would think that the next normal, natural move would be to just say, and you guys are toxic, and I just can't be in this environment anymore. I'm done. Stomp, 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 stomp. Tweet it and put it on Facebook to make sure everyone knows how wronged and violated you were. You can get every single one of those poor suffering I was wronged victim points. Maybe people will start a GoFundMe for you and give you a bunch of money because your feelings got hurt because other people were jerks. We don't really need to hear their side of anything. Like, just throw a gigantic fit, make a huge scene about it, and receive consolation from people who like to feel morally superior as well. And you're on with your day. Jesus doesn't do that. I mean, that's pretty common now. That's our play. Something goes wrong, like kind of just won the lottery here, but Jesus doesn't do that. Instead, he's like, okay, yeah, y'all are going to betray me. It's going to be the horrible, worst thing you ever did, ever. Anyways, when I'm done being dead, I'll just see you guys up in Galilee. What? Yeah, the relationship's not broken. Like, if you think about it, the whole point of him dying is to fully initiate and certify this new family of faith anyway. It's to solidify the whole thing. It's to establish this new kingdom. So it's completely different than, once again, the values of the world, the values of how we do things. World kingdom says, you wronged me for the last time. This environment is toxic and I'm mad. And kingdom values, at least is how Jesus plays it out, is, yeah, we still got miles to go, despite the fact that you're going to drop the ball and hurt me right here. So when he says, but after I've risen, I'll go ahead of you into Galilee, what he's signaling is, you're going to wrong me. I know you're going to wrong me. I know exactly what you're doing. I know exactly what's wrong with you. I knew that when I invited you and I signed up for this. We're going to go back to the place that is stable, that is predictable, where it all started, where we're all at home. And when I have risen, I will be there. Make sure you're there too. We'll straighten everything out that you're about to get wrong, and then we'll talk about how we're going to move forward. That I don't think is too bold a paraphrase, because you can just look back at Matthew chapter 10 and see that he indicated that there would be a next thing. There would be a next phase in their big open world quest. And if Jesus dies and there is no next phase, then I guess he was just messing around back there in 10. But instead, this remark in Matthew 26:32 about, after I've risen, I'll go ahead of you into Galilee, to me seems like an extension of what he's been saying to them all along would be the timetable and the plan here. Most of all, I'm just in awe of Jesus' behavior and his capacity to endure the consequences of other people's screw-ups and low-character moves. His capacity for forgiveness and grace is exemplary. It's next level. It's inspiring. It's not what I do, but it's what I aspire to do. The way this plays out is like Jesus is completely forfeiting his right to revenge against his friends who let him down. Instead, he's clearly intending to forgive, to move forward. And this is shrewd. There's a lot of shrewdness language throughout Jesus' words and throughout the Bible. And I don't know, it doesn't quite get talked about as much because it just doesn't seem like doe-eyed Jesus-y in terms of an attribute. But it very much is. The shrewdness of his investment here, too, is that he's put a ton of time into these guys. These are the dudes. This is who he called. This is who he's rolling with. These are going to be the guys who are going to go and be the initial crowd that spreads the message and sets the whole kingdom thing up. They're taking the baton. They are responsible in many ways for the next phase. Like, what are you going to do? Just burn it because they screwed you over during an important time? Well, no. In Jesus' wisdom and shrewdness, he's like, hey, I picked flawed people to be a part of my thing. They're going to get it wrong at times, but I'm not going to burn the relationship. I'm not going to burn the investment. These guys aren't ruined. They're not shot. They still have a ton to contribute here. And I think that is so exemplary as well. Man, relationships are hard earned. That time that we have in the rearview mirror with people, that is not replaceable. This little remark from Jesus is very moving to me. I think I could go on and on about it for a super long time. But the bottom line is, wow, what an astonishing example of forgiveness and not making a giant thing of it right now, and eye on the prizedness. Jesus is locked in, and he's not going to sit here and get bogged down on the mistakes he knew all along these guys were going to make. He's going to walk through the things he has to walk through, which are very difficult, and be very frank and very direct about what the next step is going to be for all of them. You're going to betray me? That's going to be a bummer. All right, then I'll see you in Galilee after. Amazing. Some of you support this program at patreon.com/the TMBH podcast. That's why it exists. We've run a couple of little ads here and there, and I might do it again if I've got just exactly the right thing that I think will definitely make your life better. But I say no to pretty much everything that comes my way because I'm not 100% sure it'll make your life better. So in light of that, it means this whole thing gets to exist and gets to happen because some of you decided to support it, and that is not lost on me. I'm so dang grateful. Thank you for doing that. Thank you to those of you who do not support the program because you don't have to. It's free. It'll always be free. That's part of the fun. All right, we'll look at how Peter pushes back on Jesus' remarks instead of just receiving the nice thing he just said next time around. Matt, this is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.